Hey everyone, and welcome to PGN Live. It is January 5th, 2026. Thank goodness I'm streaming so I can say the year often enough. Because, when you don't say it often enough or write it out often enough, what happens is you still write last year's year or say last year's year too often, but, in streaming and doing the shorts and gaming history and stuff like that, I'm always aware of okay, it's 2026. It's 2026. Welcome everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you all had a fun weekend. Today, the conversation could take us anywhere, as always with these streams, but kind of a 2 points of conversation that I sort of wanted to lead with was discussing The Legend of Zelda and some rumors that are going around could it be this interdimensional plot gameplay kind of like The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom in the sense of going in and out of rifts, but different, more akin to The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword and how you did things in the past and playing with what was happening in the past affecting the present. But this case, dimensions, different planes of existence. Nintendo has done stuff like this in the past, A Link to the Past, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. They both had their own take on a dark world or something that's a little bit different here and there affecting things. Ocarina of Time did it with literal time travel. But could Nintendo go bigger? Do you want that? What do you want of it? There are so many things that I just want to talk and nerd out on Zelda today. But also, it's unavoidable. Pokemon is turning 30 years old. It is the 30th anniversary of the franchise. And I'm expecting some pretty big things from Pokemon, including Gen 10 RPG. Could it come out in time for, the 30th year and be a fall 2026 title? Maybe that would be fitting. Now, if I had to pick, slightly less ambitious, but have it come out this year, or you know what? Give y'all some more time to cook and release next year. I would pick the latter. I'm okay with Pokemon for what it is now. I'm okay with playing other things before then. I would rather a grand, awesome new Pokemon game. But we'll see. I'm going to let you all voice in your opinions, read off the chat. Let me open up the pop-out chat right now, see who's here, and see where today's conversation goes. By the way, it looks like there are already 13 people watching, so thank you very much. Already 6 likes. We're going strong. Starting strong, I should say. This would look a little bit better pulled up a bit. Yeah, there we go. And this pulled down a bit. Actually, we could pull that down even more. Okay, cool. Hold on. I'm giving myself some more space. Yeah, that looks better. That's more evened out. All right. Who is here so far today? Steak1024 is in the house saying, hey, Paul and chat. Hey, Steak1024, what's up? Joycey J saying, Zelda? Yes, Zelda. Your favorite topic. One of my favorite topics. Something that I could go on, and this could be maybe too long of a stream. Is there such thing as too long? Maybe. But this could be a very long stream, depending. But yeah, I wanted to dive into Zelda today. Also, let me update this, because that's what I've been doing so far in 2026, is updating this. 8,068. So yeah, we got 15 new subscribers over the weekend. And members, now we crushed it, right? We finished the last stream crushing it. Hold on. Is this not updated yet? Well, that's weird. Well, I don't like that. That's weird. either YouTube didn't update it, or there was the perfect amount of people who subscribed and didn't renew. But on the YouTube side, it says 415 members. I'm going to go 415 question mark. So this would be up to date. It is Monday morning, and on YouTube's side of things, it says 415, but it should be 505. Like I said, unless if it was this non-renewal / renewal canceling out and slightly more in favor of one or the other. So I'm going to leave it like that. I don't know. That's a little odd. But let me get back to comments. That's not the most important thing right now. The most important thing right now is welcoming you all in here, saying good morning, and reading these fine questions or comments. Jordan Andrews saying, "What's up, Paul? What's up, Jordan?" Crazy Scott saying, "What's up? What's up?" Paladin 8669 says, "Good morning." Good morning. Tigress says, "Hey, hey." I'm responding back kind of in the manner in which I was, reached out to. Crazy Scott says, "It's the dark dimension." Yeah. Joyce J69, "Let the timeline shenanigans begin." Oh yeah, that's true. YNM06 says, "I think with the new direction Nintendo is going with the Nintendo Switch 2, more mature, we might have a realistic dark Zelda like Twilight Princess, my first and favorite Zelda game. I wouldn't mind something along those lines." Also, you say Pokemon Wind and Wave or something? Yeah, Wind and Wave. I have a secret hope that Wind is a placeholder name, and that the next one, the next Pokemon game is just called, well, one of them, the Wind one, is called Pokemon Gale. Ha! That'd be cool. I'd have to rebrand my whole channel to just be Pokemon for a whole year, to capitalize on, hey, my last name is Gale. Pokemon Wind was a placeholder. It's actually called Pokemon Gale. That'd be pretty dope. Small Little Man says, "I think the interdimensional thing would work better in a linear game. Maybe. But I wouldn't be angry if it was open world as long as it's a new map. I think it'd have to be. I've seen a YouTube poll where people wanted an open world Zelda with linear classic dungeons. Yeah? No such thing as too long of a Zelda discussion. True, true, true. Good day. Sonic Crossworld DLC this week on January 7th. That's cool. Lao boys. What is the DLC coming to Sonic Crossworld? Who are the characters coming this week? Yeah, I can't think of what's the DLC composed of. But it is January 7th, you're right. Yeah, I think so. I'll take your word for it. Personally, I want open air, but a map 75% the size of Hyrule from the Wild era, but is more dense with content. I would be down for interdimensional puzzles, since that design sounds fun. Yeah, I'm gonna voice in too on my thoughts on the map. Monster Hunter Wild Switch 2 port, and next will be Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Very cool. It's a brand new day, 2026, and slow day. Release a new game on January. Isn't there already a Pokemon game with Gale in the title? Yeah, Jordan Andrews. Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. So the joke here is Gale of Darkness is the original. Paul Gale of Darkness is the sequel. And then Paul Gale Network of Darkness is the trilogy ending trequel title. Yeah. But just Pokemon Gale. Sounds fierce. Sounds cool. Pokemon Gale and Pokemon Network. One takes you on a trip through harsh winds, tsunamis on the coast, traversing through the air, flying on the back of a Charizard. That's your Pokemon Gale experience. And the other one, Pokemon Network, has you deep diving through cybernetics, hacking computers, this network of interconnecting components of electronics going across the internet, hopping from light post to laptop to a TV screen, and being in a, a very computer-esque Pokemon, and that's how you transfer throughout the world. That's how you navigate. Yeah, Pokemon Gale on Pokemon Network. And you play as young Pokemon trainer Paul. Wow! Wow, what a game. What a game. Man. I think the channel would blow up to like 15 million in a day if those three things connected. And we're announcing our new anime series and new live action Pokemon movie where you play as, young Pokemon trainer Paul in Gale or Network. And they just call the movie Pokemon Paul Gale Network. I'm having too much fun. That's some imagination running wild there. Okay, Pac-Man DLC. Back to reality. Pac-Man DLC for Sonic Cross World. I had a feeling it might have been Pac-Man. I was like, Pac-Man or Ninja Turtles? Yeah, that's cool. J Biggs, Mr. NY for Life says, hey everyone. Hey J Biggs. People will talk about Legend of Zelda, Kingdom Hearts, God of War, and yeah. All popular games. So, okay. I think we're back to reality. I like what was said earlier about a smaller map size than The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. I thought both games were fantastic being as big as they were. In particular, Breath of the Wild. It set the stage. It set the foundation for something just so amazing that we never quite experienced to that level in Zelda before. And Tears of the Kingdom, borrowed a lot from it, but did top it in terms of size and variety, because you had the sky, you had the depths, and you had new things on the ground below that weren't there location-based wise, or certain things terraformed, new enemies and such that made it different than Breath of the Wild. But a different map, a different Hyrule. A Hyrule set in the future that's different enough in how things look, where you don't have these peaks of the mountains exactly there. Death Mountain isn't in the exact same location in terms of proximity, to Hyrule Castle. Not entirely different, because then it's like, well, is this a whole different world's Hyrule? No, but, mixed up enough that it feels new. How you get to Zora's Domain is different. How you get to the Deku Tree, if that's a part of it, is different. Enough like that. Or you visit a different land and it's not Hyrule necessarily. Or Hyrule is smaller, more condensed because something happened in the story to make it so, and we have to travel to another land, and there's some navigating in between lands, but the land that you visit is a thing that's far bigger. Speaking of far out cool things, AJ Rax 0440 with an awesome $5 super chat to kick this stream off. Big thank you. Oh, and I have an update for you, AJ. Thank you very much, first of all, one more time. I really appreciate that generosity. Very nice of you to get us going here. See, we're going for gold this month. What was it, this one? Yeah, that's the one that we're using. Let me read the comment. How about a Legend of Zelda game where you play as Link trapped in Ganon's body like the hero in Chrono Cross? You play as Link trapped in Ganon's body. That's crazy. So something wild enough has to happen story wise in that scenario where the next hero was born as a baby, reincarnated or something along those lines every 100 years in the Gerudo Desert, with this preconceived notion from others and storytellers that pass on the legend that this baby, who is Ganon, will become the next Ganondorf and is destined to be evil, while we have our Zelda over here and wait for Link to be born, who is the coming age of this, young hero. Meanwhile, this is a very different Ganondorf, but it is indeed Link in there. He doesn't have evil or hatred or anything like that, and he tries to be the savior because there's another foe that does come out because there is no true foe, or someone on the good side becomes bad because they're anticipating the evil to come out of Ganondorf, or you have something else like where this triforce of courage, wisdom, and power gets all schmixed up or something like that, and you have Zelda remaining herself, but Link's entity goes into Ganondorf and he has to try to convince that he's not, and you play as Ganondorf, but it is Link's mind. Meanwhile, it's not yet known that Link has become evil because it's his body, but Ganondorf's mind has possessed him. Then you have a conniving Dark Link with Ganondorf's mind inside, infiltrating and trying to cause chaos. Maybe he kills the king, Zelda's father, or something like that. And then throughout the story, it comes down to a point where, oh my gosh, we're swapped. But then what do? Do we kill the essence of Link by killing Ganondorf, who is innocent, but ridding the body once and for all? Or do we go after Link's body and risk him being done for the timeline before his time is truly up, but remove Ganondorf's psyche from existence? Woo! You just threw me for a loop, AJ Rack 0440. I started thinking about that hypothetical in a couple of different ways it would go. That was pretty fun. That was cool. Thank you so much. Oh, and like I said, I had an update for you as well. As was communicated to me, you won last stream's $10 eShop gift card giveaway, and you wanted it to go to Aiden and Nate, Nintendo Prime. So I did indeed give that to Nate, and he says thank you. So know that he did receive your $10 eShop gift card, and that was appreciated. So thank you for doing that. That was yours to do with what you wanted to when you won it. But that was a nice gesture of, sending that Nate's way for him and Aiden and their family. So just letting you know, it did get there, okay? Charlie Smith says, hello, Paul, Gale, and everybody. Hello, Charlie Smith. JM Powers 83 says, hello, Paul, and everyone else. I think my aunt is going to mail my Switch today. That's cool. Hopefully it doesn't cost that much. Remember, JM Powers 83, shipping plus a little bit of money for insurance, and that helps protect your investment, protect your Nintendo Switch 2 and the shipment. Carlton San says, hey, Paul and chat. Hey, Carlton San. Steak 1024 says, agree with Andres Restart and Kiwi Talks from Andres' show /podcast yesterday. The next Zelda main game is going to stick with the open air as Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom brought the series to the most successful it's been. I do think that, they're not going to go back to a time in a main 3D Zelda game where it's like, hey, there's a rock this tall. Oh, darn it, I can't jump over it. Oh, well, I'm going to have to go find a heavy gauntlet to lift up that rock. I don't think that's going to cut it. I do think that, here's a tall 25-foot tall slab of granite that's too slippery. I cannot jump it. I cannot climb it. I will eventually find some super boots that will make me jump really high, or I will eventually get a gauntlet that makes me stronger so I can lift up this thing. But for the vast majority, I think that's where there's like a fine line of gameplay balance where you could capitalize on the open air concept of you could go anywhere and do anything within realism that's set in the confines of Hyrule or of the Legend of Zelda world, but not limited either, not limited in the sense of, and that's what they kind of did with Breath of the Wild. You can't just, from the very beginning of the game, climb to the very top of the mountain. You don't have enough stamina. But eventually you could. You just have to unlock it. So you didn't unlock a new weapon. You unlocked a new level of capability that Link got that served as a weapon, right? That the world served as a dungeon. And maybe they could, dive into that a little bit further. And then here you've got a Zelda game where, yeah, you could still go everywhere and stuff like that. It's not limited like the past where, like I made that example with the boulder. Or, oh, there's a tree. Shoot, my sword's not strong enough to cut down that tree branch that's this thick. Oh, well, darn. But there is this massive slab that's just overwhelming and you just can't yet. But eventually, maybe you can. That would be fun. But yeah, I see the next Zelda game still being like an open concept type of thing. Omar David says, salute and all the best, Polygon Network and chat. I'm always accepting to a welcome mat in such an environment. Thank you. Cool. Welcome. We'll see a remake of Zelda in 2026 or 2027. I like that. Low-key, I want Ganon to die for about 5 more games, then bring him back. Love Ganon, but it's time to move on. Just my opinion. Yeah, Ganon doesn't need to be in every Zelda game, but boy, when they get him in there and do him right, he is an important part of the franchise, an important part of the Triforce and the mythos that if you're trying to start off a new wave of fans, you want to introduce them to the Trinity. You want the big heavies to be in there. But once you establish that, you could continue on without him for a bit before he restructures. So I agree. I always thought it would be cool if they made a Zelda game that took place in modern times. Went back and forth between modern times and medieval times where Zelda games take place. Yeah, I've thought of a cyberpunk-ish Zelda game. Link in cityscapes with neon lights, with a hoodie on, motorcycle, Master Sword, but with some tech infused, and have to whip back into time, polarizing different looks. Like that would be cool. Yeah. Would y'all be open to a modern day Zelda? Motorcycles, city buildings, modern but unique weapons, etc. Yeah, Joycey J, following up on J.M. Power's talk and your talk of that, yeah. It could very much be Zelda, but these bosses are reincarnated versions. Like, maybe you do have a tribe that is Goron-like, but they're not Gorons. And, Gorons are heavier set rock dudes. That maybe this is like a sumo house, a sauna. The roots are deep with lava, magma. That's how they have their fortune. That's how they have their power, have their money. That's what they're known for. They supply heat to the city and water systems. But it is old Yokozuna. It is old spirit of sumo. And that is the Goron tribe made modern, you know? You do have a very intimidating, strong bad guy with ninjas at his side, and they're very dark and mysterious, and that is like the Yiga clan transformed into the modern day. Like, you know, they run some crimes. They are the ones that say, "Hey, you want your store safe? Yeah? Oh, we'll offer protection. Well, I don't need protection. You sure about that?" As they break, okay, okay, I'll give you protection. And like, there's a lot that you could do, but you could still make them kind of mutant-like. They don't all have to be humanoids, or they could be humanoids but not humans. They could still, have different colors to their skin. They could have different ear shapes or different little formations on their face, but not necessarily completely Goron rock-like. Or maybe they are. Like, there's definitely things that you could do in a futuristic scenario. Yeah. We're on the same page. Joyce and J.M. Powers, yeah. Michael S. Powell, nice to see you, Paul. Good to see you, Michael. Thank you for being here. AJ Rax says, and in Zelda 2 and Ocarina of Time, we see that Link has a dark side, yeah. Awesome, yes, regarding the gift card, yeah. Would be cool to attend the CES 2026 event in Las Vegas. That'd be cool. Hello again, Tall Show. Paladin saying, I do hope they move on from shrines. They would just replace the purpose with overworld puzzles and quests that give heart pieces and stamina vessels. Yeah, I could see a couple of different ways. The shrines and the mini tower structure, it worked well, and I liked them. I liked the variety and the fun in finding so many, but there's probably a balance in changing the way that puzzles are done in that land-based perspective. Dungeons. Nintendo has a lot to experiment with, It's more than just making a game. It's like a really, what do we do that's different and new and never been done before, but also enough to carry the weight on our shoulders of all of the fans who are expecting all of these different things. Yeah. Can't wait for NVIDIA to announce the 3060 at CES. Why bring RTX 3060? DLSS 4.5 tomorrow announcement. I love a Cyberpunk. Zelda, yeah. Omar David, environments might be too much of a character. Realistic aesthetic. What would carry the game? Are you thinking of FF7? If yes, how do you develop that? Oh. Gosh, I gotta go back on my thought of like how big of a Zelda title I want. Let me get back to that in a moment. Let me read some more comments, but I do want to continue. We're full on in Zelda conversation right now, but let me take a little break maybe just to read some more comments before re-engaging that. Cyberpunk 2 is coming soon. DLS 4.5 will work on any RTX card. Okay, talking back and forth amongst each other. Darkling needs to make a comeback. Yvonne Francois, hi everyone. I miss heart pieces and unique weapons. Justice for the spinner. Gosh, the spinner could have been used more. Like, imagine once you beat the dungeon in Twilight Princess, there was a little cinematic scene, a little cutscene that went all throughout Hyrule, in all these old locations that you went to. Da-na-na-na. You unlocked the mythic tracks, and just completing that segment in the dungeon, traveling around, fighting the boss. Now all of a sudden, all throughout Hyrule, from the ground, flipped up, were all these different tracks, including some tracks that you're like, I knew there was gotta have been a way to get that heart piece way up there, or I don't think I ever looked up there, but gosh, it looks like I could find something. Do I see a little bit of a treasure chest peeking out from the corner? I don't really know. Now, you go back to the snow area. Oh, shoot. There is that. Not that you couldn't use a spinner at all, but this would be more ingrained. Like, that would be cool. Metroid-esque, if you will. Well, Metroid and Zelda, they do share a similar vibe in that sense of, reach reversal. They're handled a little bit differently, but Metroid and Zelda are similar in some ways that, yeah. I mean, if you play both, you kind of know. They are brother sister, They are two twins that just walked different paths. One went to fantasy, and one went to sci-fi. But that's Link and Samus for you. Kind of. Or two sisters, I guess. Zelda and Samus. Yeah. Yeah. Lego just announced the Smart Brick. What? I don't think I've heard of that. Yep. Too many Batman game, even Lego, Nintendo work on Nier Automata for Switch 2 port. Hyrule Warriors did more with the spinner than Twilight Princess. That became Hyrule Warriors on Wii U. That is what I used once I got it, and that was the best combo driver. How I racked up the most amount of points, and yeah, the spinner was cool. That was the best. If you wanted to get the big points, that was the best weapon that you could level up in that game. I'm surprised they didn't make a spinner Zonai device, looking back on it. Aaron Cedillo says, Hi, Aaron. Carlton San says, I just want Zelda Portal. The cake is a lie, but in a Hyrule. GLaDOS is a construct. Yeah. The Zelda team doing something like-ish Insomniac did with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart would be cool. Different enough, but, being able to go in and out of things simultaneously was pretty cool. That was a great game, too. Let me see if there were any more comments. Okay. Back on that Zelda talk of the size of the game. I do want the physics used in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild to still be a thing. I don't want to go back to, here's a rock that's 4 feet tall and I can't go over it. You mean I can't jump? I don't have a jump button? I can't climb something 4 feet tall? Shoot, when I was filming my various gaming history videos, in particular Gears of War, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, I was jumping and climbing over rocks. My Metroid Prime 4 Beyond Countdown series, I was parkouring up and down walls and jaggedy mountains and stuff like that. Just 5'11.5" dude who's 42 years old, jumping, leaping, wall climbing, hanging off of this. You see me on the edge of the mountain on my birthday for Donkey Kong Bonanza. Like, dude, if you're a hero in this world, don't sell me that you can't climb this tree. I could climb a tree. Aside from not wanting to get splinters, there's a decent chance that, with the right circumference of a palm tree, I could climb a palm tree. I could climb a telephone post. Shoot, I was climbing light posts for Spider-Man Miles Morales, daily short gaming history. And I'm not trying to, brag, this is the feats of strength that I could do. But the point is, I'm a 5'11.5" real human being who's 42 years old who is athletic. Any character in gaming is going to be better than me in their world. Mario, Link, Samus, Kratos from God of War, Master Chief. Don't sell me on this. You can't jump over a 4-foot rock. I do understand that Some games just aren't platformers. Some games just do want you to search for this and get the thing that could break that and stuff, but maybe it's a little bit of a bias. Maybe a little bit of a bias is showing that I'm not that big of a fan of that type of limitation. That being said, I do like it in certain games. I mean, in Pokemon, there is a charm to the simplicity of you cannot pick up this rock, you cannot break past this tree. But I'm also under the mindset of, oh, I'm supposed to be a 10-year-old kid in this game who probably couldn't lift up that boulder. Okay, so I need to teach my Pokemon this move to lift it. Or yeah, maybe can't cut down that tree because what am I going to use? My hands? You mean tell me I can't just go sideways and go through it? No, I get it. I get it. You got to get the Pokemon to teach it cut and stuff like that. Like, no, that's fine. There's a certain charm to it. But in most of these games, like, dude, I want to be able to do stuff. And I think the future of Zelda bodes best when it comes to you can go anywhere and do anything that a freaking hero of that nature, who is a younger version of me in a fantasy world, who's got powers and stuff, should be able to do. Not Superman limitless, right? But more. So I think that's a fine thing, is coming up with a world that's big enough that you could do enough in, but doesn't have to be overly complex in its design when it comes to pure size, sheer size, and make it more intricate, more dense, smaller but more visually impressive. Show that this is a great leap in technology. Donkey Kong Bonanza clearly looked better in terms of raw polygons, shadows, and lighting and textures than any 3D platformer from Nintendo on the Nintendo Switch, right? But it also showed off some complexities of the engine in its terraforming, which you could do with punching the heck out of the whole freaking map and making your own constructs in there and stuff staying there. Amazing. So the Zelda game can definitely look really good and also do some impressive stuff like portal, pulling something out of here, and in the past or in this other dimension, igniting something on fire, and then boom, going into the current day of Hyrule, and you were in this very different looking thing, and in this other dimension or time or whatever, you lit this fire, and how it's affecting here in Hyrule is it's inflating this giant tarp, which now becomes this big hot air balloon that is able to take you up and out, because you don't have the tool set to reach that thing in the sky, but you do have this portal, this rift maker, where if you search the past, if you search this alternate dimension, you will find things. And then you get this visual chemistry, you get something neat, you get something that you didn't see in the past, and how fast and how snappy it is going in between times on the fly or in between dimensions on the fly and affecting things vice versa. Like, that's dope. That's cool. And it could look awesome. And the whole game could be smaller, and there could still be a few dozen shrine-like things, but a half a dozen or so big dungeons. Still open air in concept and tangibility of what you could do as Link, but have this upgrade system that, like, yeah, I could climb mountains and stuff, but there's something about this 25-foot slab of granite that's too slippery and I can't climb it, but later I get these big powerful gauntlets that let me reach into the earth and chuck it, right? I'm thinking back to Ocarina of Time, right? The next Zelda, I mean, and they've got the horsepower, they've got the more intelligent CPU, GPU, they got the RAM, they got the DLSS, they have all the tools in the making to make it another tremendous title. Like another, wow, this is best game ever contender title. That's what's got me overflowing with joy. Oh, Bonbit Games says, have a good day. Have a good day, Bonbit Games. Thank you for being here. Flurry Rush is great, but also hoping they bring back different moves like Twilight Princess, yeah. Nintex 2 Dope. Greetings, everyone. Hello, Paul Yale Network. I want a Zelda game in high sci-fi. That's what we're talking about. I mean, in the moment, not necessarily, but earlier we were talking about possibilities of, yeah, a futuristic Zelda. I think they're going to do it one day. I don't know if it's going to be this upcoming one, right? But we're going to get it one day. One day is a very long time, by the way. You know, you realize like that Zelda's 40 years old. Nintendo's been around for, since 1889. They're a 140-year-old company, basically. Look at 50 years in the future. Where are they going to be? What are they going to do? Look, 120 years in the future. We can't even foresee that far long. But like, to say something is never going to happen or that something is impossible, I don't omit possibilities. I'm not naive enough to buy into like anything. Hey, did you know that Sonic is going to be in a Super Mario 64? No. Okay, come on. But hey, do you know that one day Mario and Sonic are going to team up in an Olympic sports game? Huh? Well, that one turned out true, right? So you got to realize like the video game industry is vast. I mean, life is vast. Life has multiple things that you didn't anticipate would happen, and they happen. And yeah, got to be open. Got to be open to change of possibilities. Paladin says, for Zelda, would we want a more stylized art style with 60 frames per second or more realistic but 30? Assuming the game mechanics and physics don't force it to 30. Maybe it's unpopular. You know what? I'm going to run a poll. Maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but I don't know. I have never had a problem with 30 frames per second done in the era of 3D. If it's a smooth 30, I could care less that I'm not getting a 60 frames per second experience. If it's not jittery and clearly having dips and stuff, and the game is fantastic, and you've got beautiful music and sound design, special effects and visuals, and the gameplay's fun, the story's rocking, the cutscenes are cool, the sword combat's neat, the magic is there. You could ride a bike, you could swing a sword, you could throw fire, you could jump, you could climb, you could platform, and all of this is done at 30. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. And some people would say, oh, how could you say that? That's just me. So I'd be like, yeah, crank the graphics up to 11. Let's have it look realistic as can be. If that means it's a little bit of a smaller game, but it's still authentic in terms of tangibility, like Breath of the Wild was, and it's 30, but it looks slick, I'm going to go for that. I'm going to go for that all day. If the sacrifice was, okay, so it's going to look a little bit better than Breath of the Wild, think no better looking than Donkey Kong Bonanza, but it's going to run at 60, I'm not going to be disappointed, If it only looked a little bit better than Bonanza, which is still very good, but the art design was new and different than that Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom style, set in this new Hyrule or, old Hyrule mixed with some new lands, and it was just a beautiful game, and the graphics didn't go from here to like here, but it went from here to like here. I'm still going to think, dude, it's amazing because there's so many other things there for me to enjoy than, oh, I didn't get that Ocarina of Time to Twilight Princess leap, right? Wind Waker in between, Majora's Mask in between, Majora being comparable, Wind Waker being a very different look, but Twilight, Ocarina, that was a very big jump. Skyward Sword to Breath of the Wild, I would say, was a very big jump. I'm hoping that Tears of the Kingdom to the next Zelda game will be a very big jump. If it's Tears of the Kingdom to Donkey Kong Bonanza, I would still say that's quite a good jump. Because I remember when I played Donkey Kong Bonanza at the Nintendo Switch 2 experience in Los Angeles for the first time, I was like, this top area with the yellow grass and stuff like that, before we had Paulina on our shoulders, I was like, this looks kind of like Tears of the Kingdom, but man, this is that art style, that type of not realistic looking game, but like beautiful in terms of art direction and stuff like that. How that would look on Nintendo Switch 2. I could see myself as Link running around here with just a little bit of a different structure and enemy types, but this would look awesome. So I would be fine with that. I would be happy with that, as long as the rest of the game is good, which I don't doubt. But I think I would opt for, something even more visually appealing at the sacrifice of going 30. That's me. Let's see. Nintex2Dope says, I want that image of futuristic Zelda that surfaced before Skyward Sword. I know what you mean. LOL, oh cool, I just got here. Yeah, no, you're good. You're in good timing. It's really, Zelda and Pokemon talk today, in which Zelda has kind of taken over, but that's okay. It's whatever y'all want to talk about. I would love it if they gave another alien side quest to go. That Breath of the Wild alien invasion concept art looked cool. Watch them do a stable 40 frames per second. Yeah, I'll be fine too. I said I was going to do the poll. We're going to do that poll. Let's see, that's a little bit too long. Okay, here we go. All right. We have 21 people watching now. That makes for a good poll base. Obviously, the more, the better. But 21 is a good amount of people. Thank you all for being here, by the way, again. "22 people watching and 22 likes. There you go. Thank you all. The poll is going to be very interesting to see what comes of it. The question was, would you rather the next Zelda look stunning at 30 frames per second or Donkey Kong Bonanza levels of great at 30 frames per second? And note, DK Bonanza is a very good looking game. And they're running that baby at 60 FPS. It looks beautiful, and it runs silky smooth. But I'm talking even more of a visual bang of polish. Something that we're like, oh my gosh, this is the Zelda of my dreams. I didn't even know things could look this good. And it's running at 30. I'm going to read the results soon. Well, they're still being updated live. You're all still live voting on it. Looks like so far, Nintendo 64% of you said 30 FPS and stunning, 36% so far have said 60 FPS and DK Bonanza like. Cool, cool. Nintex 2 Dope says, OMG, I finally used game chat with my buddy last night. Man, is that hands down the most impressive feature ever. We ended up doing it and screen sharing different games for 6 hours straight. That is so cool, Nintex 2 Dope. Man, I have yet to. I think I'll be able to soon, though. Because I have friends that. I have a good amount of friends right now that do own a Nintendo Switch 2, but our gameplay sessions don't necessarily sync up. And sometimes we are all online at the same time playing. And I can see this friend just popped up online. I can see 11 people online currently playing. Some of us are playing the same game, some of us different games, some of us are starting a session, some of us are about ending a session. But sometimes I'm playing with my wife and with my kids in the living room, and they're probably starting up their own thing with their own families and stuff. But I do have a friend that recently got a Nintendo Switch 2, like last week. He either got one, I think he might have got one like December 31st. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh, you're one of those first 16 million or something like that in my head. And I think we might be able to do that. Because like that's something that I like to do. That's an old school friend, neighborhood buddy that would be neat to do that. We're farther apart distance wise these days, living and stuff like that. So that would be fun to, play an old school game on Nintendo Switch Online and play together, but like have our face bubbles pop up and stuff. Like that's cool, Nintex 2 Dope. That's neat. Yeah. Nintendo created something really neat there. I just haven't used my camera yet, except for in Welcome Tour. it's my least used Nintendo Switch 2 accessory so far. I don't regret buying it because I wanted it. And, I've had some fun with it. But in reality, yeah, I guess I didn't need it yet. But I'm hoping I will eventually. I'm sure at some point I will. 30 FPS, not good for some game Switch 2 port. I guess it depends on the game. Hey, Paul, what did you play over the weekend? Hey, Caps Paranormal. I played Ghost of Yote over the weekend. And Marvel Cosmic Invasion. I finally got to play more of Marvel Cosmic Invasion because I finally got to have the four of us, my wife, son, daughter, and me, play together. And it was so much fun. We didn't beat it. Actually, I don't know how long the game is. There are a surprising amount of stages. And there is kind of incentive to go back to stages because you could play through the game and do different like mini quests, if you will, satisfying goals of, beat this stage's boss with this character, hit this enemy this many times with this one, do the following in under this amount of time or whatever, like that kind of stuff. So we might go back and do that. But in the meantime, we just had a lot of fun playing. And each person picks two different characters. And we unlocked somebody new. We unlocked one or two people. And yeah, it's cool. So Marvel Cosmic Invasion, that's what the four of us play together. And Ghost of Yote, that's what I gave myself some solo time to dive back in. I think I said in the last stream, I was a little bit rusty at first, like, oh shoot, my parrying, my navigating between, oh, I gotta push this button to activate this and then quickly do this. Oh, I accidentally threw out this thing instead. That's annoying. Oh, I didn't quickly go to this weapon. Oh, this weapon beats this one. What's the rock, paper, scissors order again? Like, oh, but when I played again more, okay, it was more in me and like, dang, the game is just so much fun. It's really cool. What did you play over the weekend? Next Zelda game will support 60 frames per second, maybe. DK Bonanza like, meaning they're going to try to make it on Switch 1 first. JK, no, tall show. I do think that this Zelda game had to have started development, you know, March or so of 2022. I say that because Tears of the Kingdom came out, if I'm not mistaken, May of 2023. But most of it, as we found out, was done a full year earlier. They just spent a year refining things so that nothing would break. That, to me, sounds like probably a good part of that team wrapped up. And even before then, like March of 2022, good part of that team was off and away making a new Zelda game, while a smaller chunk was there to fine tune it for one whole year to come. And if that's the case, there could have even been some foundation, some groundwork laid down in like September or October or something of 2021. So the game very well could be at like 4+ years of development already. Or maybe, in a couple of months it hits 4 years of development. I don't know. But I think the game has been in the workings for a while. I wouldn't be surprised if parts of Monolith Soft have been helping too, while also constructing their own new IP or their new Xenoblade game. That's why I'm thinking, yeah, I could see a new Zelda game come out November 2028. I don't think it's too crazy of an expectation. That'd be a 6.5 year development cycle, and that sounds about right. And if we did get something grand like Ocarina of Time remake this year, some smaller Zelda game or some smaller port or 2D remake or something in 2027, then you go. Amazing remake of a beloved game, one of the most popular and important games in the franchise history for this year's 40th anniversary. Movie in 2027, smaller game in 2027, big Zelda game in 2028. Is that too ambitious? I don't think so. We'll see though. Tsukino Ame says, hi everyone, hi there. Tiger SF says, what if they give performance/quality mode and we can have 30 stunning and 60 a little less stunning? So that's possible, but when I'm talking stunning, I'm talking the game, the engine, the style of graphics would have to be so different that it wouldn't be feasible to just downgrade things to make it look okay still at 30. I'm talking it's radically different, where it's pushing that hardware hard. That's how hard of a look they're going for. And it's like, hey, we're going for this type of look. Oh no, it's at 30. There's not a scaling thing where, okay, we could turn off these textures, lower this resolution. No, it's cranked up to the max, and yeah, rock solid 30. That's what I'm thinking, because then you're talking like resolution bump down, you're talking a little bit of texture decrease, and then yeah, you can make it work. I'm talking no, too good looking, But yeah, some middle ground like that would be cool too. AJ Rack says, I just want great gameplay and engaging story. If I want realistic graphics, I would get a PlayStation. That's one thing that I'm confident in, is that we're going to get good gameplay regardless in the next Zelda game. And even if the story isn't super connected to past Zelda games, for what it is, that Zelda game, that next one, chances are is going to have a cool story. I've never been disappointed with a Zelda game's story. I'm actually not disappointed with the Zelda timeline at all. I wish I better understood the exact navigation points in between. That would be cool to be like, this is how it happened. From Skyward Sword to Tears of the Kingdom. Zelda 2, Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, split off, what the split off actually meant, Echoes of Wisdom, Age of Calamity? Is that an alternate thing? Okay. Uh, uh, Age of Imprisonment is a thing. Skyward Sword? Rewinding to Zonai times? Zelda going to the past? Zelda in the future? Make it all make sense. It would be nice to have that, you know? That would be nice. But independently, each Zelda game, is terrific. Egomaniac87 says, Yo, got alert today. Hey, that's okay. Sometimes you got to have your phone off to the side, listen to, hopefully some fun video game talk, but you got to wash dishes. You gotta sweep or dust around the house or pluck weeds or something. Or maybe you gotta work and be at the keyboard and stuff. It's all good. Thank you for being here. Nintex2Dope says, it works flawless. Best tech stuff I've seen in ages. Oh, regarding the... brain fart for a second. Regarding the camera. That's cool. I'm glad. Thanks for sharing that, Nintex2Dope. Paladin. For Gen 10 Pokemon, I would like more character animations for NPC to help with the immersion, and for the turn-based system if they used it to be snappy and quick to use. Good points, Paladin. I would like to see Pokemon feel like they've got some weight, some more weight to them when walking around. Whether it's stepping on the beach, trudging through water, moving through grass, climbing up a tree, coming out of a tree and falling down in front of you and causing a little bit of shake. When you throw it out, if it is lighter or it is heavier, there's some more noise, some more sound effect. I would like the next Pokemon game to please have voice acting. It doesn't have to have voice acting in the whole thing, but if you've got like this nice looking FMV, this full motion video, the cinema scene, this little movie piece, please have them talk during it. That's a thing that I would like. Yeah. Soon expect Apple announce March to April. Played Octopath Traveler over the weekend. Every time I finish one story, another pops up. It's a beefy game at a 10 out of 10. We'll be replaying it again in the future. That's cool, Joycey J. Is this Octopath Traveler 0 the best so far, in your opinion? Boys 411. Is Paul next James Bond movie? I would like to be in the next James Bond movie. That would be fun, but no, I'm not. At least I don't know if I am. I mean, it'd be news to me, if a studio was like, hey, so we saw your GoldenEye 007 gaming history short, and we saw that photo that you put up. Would you like to be the next James Bond? Yeah, right. Would you like to be in the movie as a bad guy number 16 that gets shot in the opening scene? Yeah, sure, fine. I'll take it. Caps Paranormal says, when we think about first-party graphics, just think, Metroid Prime 4 ran fantastically at 120 frames per second, and it's a gorgeous game. Gorgeous game. Yeah, it is. We'll see next Nintendo Direct in February or not possible Zelda announced. I think, I ran not a poll. I put up a post on X a week ago or so. We went over it last stream, but we could go over it briefly again. I put up a little thing on X, and it's like, there's a very good chance that we have a Nintendo Direct in February. I mean, 9 out of the last 14 Februarys have had a Nintendo Direct. That's like 64% right there. All 14 years have had a Nintendo Direct take place in the first third of the year. In the Nintendo Switch era, 2017 and on, well, actually 2018 and on, because Nintendo Switch came out in March, so it didn't have the possibility of February. Unless if you count that January one ahead of time, but whatever. 6 out of Februarys have had one. 75% odds right there. So, very good chance that February 5 weeks from now, sometime in that middle of the month maybe, we will have ourselves a Nintendo Direct. Not a guarantee, but history shows quite a bit more likely than not, you know? Imagine what they could do at 30 frames per second. Yeah. Also depends on the size. You know, like I wouldn't be surprised if the next Luigi's Mansion game looks better than the next 3D Mario in terms of raw polygons, because I expect the next 3D Mario to be this type of open big game, running and jumping, wahooing over all these Goombas and flipping upside down and hopping in a Bowser and boom in a castle walls and boom and Yoshi and flying da 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 da. Whereas I imagine Luigi's Mansion 4 to be a more tightly controlled camera experience that it allows for some bigger depth and rotation than previous Luigi's Mansion games, but to be more tight-knit where less can go wrong and less needs to be built in terms of overall geometry, complexity, and environment size, so they can really crank up the sophistication of how things look and move and operate and animate within these smaller confines. Kind of like how Luigi's Mansion 3, I would say, has better graphics than Super Mario Odyssey on that pure polygon scale. So it depends on what type of game is Nintendo trying to make, in which they could really, push that visual fidelity. If they wanted to go back to something that they own, that they haven't touched in a while, like Eternal Darkness, and make a new scary game, a horror game, a thriller title, and have it be in closer confines where you don't, as a human character, climb a wall to the ceiling like Link can in Hyrule, right? Because it's a little bit grounded in our reality. You don't have to throw those physics in there. Yeah, you could still have your hero or heroine jump on a table to avoid an enemy, climb on top of a bookshelf, but it's a little bit different in terms of, tangibility and physics, right? But then you could crank up the graphics, and you could see, Nintendo could make a realistic looking game. I mean, look at the faces of the troopers in Metro Prime 4 Beyond. They're plenty capable. I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited for the next Xenoblade Chronicles game, or what that studio does. Yeah. Yes, voice acting would be a huge improvement. Snorlax causing shakes would be awesome to see. Imagine feeling it with HD Rumble. I just want a release for Tamagotchi Life. Tamagotchi Life will be my goatee for 2026, along with Monster Hunter Stories 3. Yeah. Tall show with that James Bond drop. JoyCJ69. It's not the best in my opinion. Hold on. It's not the best in my opinion, but still great. I think OT2 is the best of the three. Lots of reused assets, and it's obvious, and some things from the last game I miss. Hard to explain in a small post. Yeah. See, I didn't play 2. Or this 0, unfortunately, yet. Maybe I'll get around to it. But you like 2 the best. Cool. Speaking of cool, AJ Rax with another 5. Oh, that makes you tied. I gotta put that here. That makes you tied with Stake 1024 for the top contributor of January with 10 in one stream. Gotta move that to 10 here and to 10 here. Thank you, AJ Rax 0440, for that generous additional $5 super chat on top of the one that you gave earlier today. This is just for giggles. Can we mix Zelda and Pokemon together? Link as a trainer. Yeah, let's do it. Imagine if Okay. Zelda could conjure things up in Echoes of Wisdom. Imagine they're like, you know what? We're going to take away all of Link's conventional weapons and stuff and just have him find Pokemon in these mystical little balls that it has on his waist. And when he encounters enemies, he throws out, you know, Sword Guy. And you could control some of Sword Guy's movements. Moving like Scyther around and stuff. Scyther will do his own things. Maybe it is Scyther, right? Well, let's go wild. It is Scyther. And retreat. And then you're going into like the lava area. And it's like, go Golem! And it's more like a Goron Golem or something. And penetrating through fire and whatnot. You know, you gotta make it across the water and go up the waterfall. Go Lapras! Watch, Link never talked in all of these games, as far as we could hear. But when they finally choose to go with voice acting for the first time in Zelda history for Link to be all talking, it's all Pokemon stuff. Go Lapras! Woo! You know what, AJ Rex? Not only thank you for the generous $5, but thank you for the fun ideas that you just made me think up of. No hang glider. Go Pidgeot! And your Link riding on Pidgeot over Hyrule. Dang. Link has to enter the Shadow Realm. And he's pure light. He can't go in there. Go Gengar! And Link with Gengar goes in there. Dang! We just came up with a brand new game. Animal Crossing update getting close. Yeah. I'd take a 6 frames per second over 30 any day. Every type of game, personally, says Huddy40. I don't get me wrong. I don't not like 60. I say, hey, make it more smooth. The more smooth, the better. But I'm not sensitive to the frame rate difference where, gosh, I was flipping back and forth between Doom 2016 on Nintendo Switch and Doom 2016 on Xbox One X. And I was like, I'm having no problem. I'm having no issues with either version. Whereas my friend, I remember that was over at the time when I was showing, he was like, oh man, I could see it. Oh man, I could see the difference. Like, huh, doesn't bother me. But yeah, if we could get that 60 for the next generation of consoles, I wouldn't mind them just staying at 4K. Don't go trying to go 6K, 8K now. Sticking at 60 frames per second. Don't go, we got to have 90 as a new minimum. We got to push 120. Stick it to 4K and 60. And then just crank up the intelligence and the AI and the sophistication and the fun and the gameplay and the pure visual aesthetics of the games and let that be the next generation look. Make them run at 4K and 60 across the board, but be better, be bigger, be more awesome, and look better because you'll put the money and the effort into the graphics than just another resolution bump and just another frame rate bump, Luigi's Mansion 4 may be Nintendo's first game to implement ray tracing in-house. We'll see. Then the best next step for Luigi's Mansion, scary, better puzzles, first person. Lady Demuratesu from Resident Evil Village. Yeah, we'll see about that. Goron, I choose you! Yeah, Huddy40. Exactly. That's a good way to get me to try Pokemon Joy CJ. Yeah! Tomorrow is my 43rd birthday. I forgot to mention that. Well, that's pretty cool. Happy birthday in advance, JM Powers 83. You know what we should try? Here, let's see this. We don't have any Oh no, we don't have. Sorry, different train of thought. Different thought. Well, happy birthday! Like I said, JM Powers 83. I hope you have a nice, healthy birthday tomorrow. Have fun. Hopefully, get that Nintendo Switch 2 back in the mail, or at least in transit. And yeah, enjoy your day. And here's hoping you have a good year up ahead too. Bokoblins use Cube, Age Slash or something. Michael S. Powell, yeah. AJ Rax saying Link and Ganon having an epic Pokemon battle, and Ganon can cheat because of course he can. Imagine like a cross between Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. Yugi versus Seto Kaiba. Kaiba! Yugi! It's time to duel! Pokemon. Summoning Pokemon. Ganondorf versus Link. Obelisk the Tormentor! Blue Eyes White Dragon. We will form in two. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a pretty fun show. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was cool. All sorts of fun thoughts today. This is a fun stream. This is a fun conversation. See what we don't have when we don't... See what we do when we don't necessarily have like one piece of news. It becomes just, hey, let's just think of everything, right? Get your mind flowing. Oh, unrelated, but still cool. I saw the new Avatar movie. My wife and I went to the theaters yesterday, and it was good. It was fun. Definitely a looker. Like, wow, did the movie look good? At some parts, I almost thought, that looks a little too good. In a funny way. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah. Avatar was good. Oh, God. What if it's Link in modern day and he has to pay his taxes and do boring work to afford Zelda's attention, but she obviously wants Ganon and his loud chrome hog hot rod. I mean, that'd be funny. Ganon with Scizors, and Age Slash against Link. 68 frames per second animation is just so much smoother. Imagine The Legend of Zelda Link Pays Taxes game, where Link pays taxes by the end of the game. Carlton-san says, we opted in for Marty Supreme for our Christmas theater watch. Cool. Ooh, this poll is starting to turn the tides a little bit. It's still going to 55%. Or like, dude, crank those graphics up to 12 and keep it a rock steady 30 versus, you know what? Something like Bonanza would be pretty sweet. Just a different art style, but keep it at 60. Cool. Let's see what else. Oh, we got Paul Gale Network, member for 3 months. PGN Black Belt saying, thank you all for being here, including you, Paul Gale Network. Here's to more fun in 2026. Wow. Thank you, Paul Gale Network, for being here. And yeah, I appreciate you, Paul Gale Network, as much as you appreciate me, I guess. And yeah, here is to more fun in 2026. I think the year will bring some more gaming history, because that's a daily thing, in which we're not stopping until August 13th. Maybe it'll go longer, but the point was to have some gaming history nugget dropped every day for a year. You know, will I go longer than that? I don't know. Do expect some more gaming countdowns. In this case, we've got less than 90 days to go until the Super Mario Galaxy movie. That countdown has already begun. Once a month, though, and we may go to a different level, like every day as we get closer. We've got a Legend of Zelda movie countdown going. That is once a month. That may become every day when we get closer, which we're still, a year and 4 months out, but still. Wolverine, Grand Theft Auto 6, those are possible countdowns. We'll see. But yeah, thanks, PGN. We'll see what 2026 brings. Tall show. I'm glad you like that. Tsukino Ame, you too. Good. Thank you all for hitting that like button, by the way. We've got 29 watching, 28 likes. Those are some nice synchronous bits. Would they do a Switch 2 Gen 10 bundle like they did with Legends ZA? I could see them doing that. Prices are going to become interesting. Can the Nintendo Switch 2 remain at $450 and not go up this year? When a new bundle does come out, will that bundle only be $500, or is that too good of a deal in 2026 with inflation and with tariffs and what have you? I don't know. But if we would get Pokemon Gen 10, let's say, then also there's two different versions, right? Got Wind and Wave, or Gale and Wave, or something, right? But that would be cool. I can't see there being less than 30 million Nintendo Switch 2s by December 31st, 2026. That's actually pretty low. That's like way too safe. Way too safe is that. 32 million plus, gotta be. So that's on like the super low end where it's not going to be that low. But that's already like a solid number. Because I know people are like, well, is that too early for a Pokemon game to be on a console barely a year and a half in? I'm like, well, at the rate that Nintendo Switch 2 is going, it's not going to be some system that has, 13 million install base. Oof, no, it's going to have like 30 when Pokemon is out. If Pokemon is like this December title, I could definitely tell the difference with frame rates, but rarely bothered unless it dips hard or often. Yeah, that's something I definitely agree and understand where you're coming from. The fourth wall was just broken in the chat. Yeah, Paladin. Nintex dope. No way Switch 2 price doesn't go up. No way it doesn't go up. So you are on the fence of like, no, it's going to happen. Sorry, folks. It's not sticking at $450. Where I could see Nintendo keeping Nintendo Switch 2's price at $450 is in some other areas and seeing those prices go up. For instance, grandfathered in Nintendo Switch Online memberships for folks that have already paid those amounts remain what they are. They're not going to all of a sudden take away your membership and say, you can only keep this for that next year unless if you pay more. No. But for new NSO memberships, instead of the base being 20, maybe the base is 30. Instead of family plan at 20 level for base being 35, it's now 50. Instead of expansion pack being 50, it's now 65. Instead of family plan 80, it's now 100. So that's where they're making some more money. And then hopefully when it comes to their games are overselling They're beyond meeting their expectations. So where they thought, we're hoping that this game that we cranked out sells 2 million, it's like a 3.5. We're really aiming for about 5 for this one. It shattered it and it did like 8.7. And this one, this should be like a good 10, 12 million seller. No, it does 19. Oh, so we're making money hand over fist more than what we thought. We're willing to lose slightly on the whole tariff thing and blah, blah, blah. So we could keep Nintendo Switch 2 at 450. Or we do something like Nintendo Switch 2 is now 500, but each Nintendo Switch 2 does come with a 1-year subscription to NSO at the basic level. So, you're giving people that $20 a year value, which normally would be like a $450 system plus a $20 year subscription, making it $470, but now you're charging $500, so it's only in a way $30 more. But if you also raise the membership price up to $35, well, then that would have been $35 plus $450 is $485, so now it's only $15 more. And the general consumer doesn't necessarily know all these old prices, and it's like, $500, wasn't it $450 like last June when it came out? Oh, but it's coming with the subscription thing. So really, I'm not paying 50 more for the system. I'm only paying 15 more for the system, or 30. That's an easier pill to swallow. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. We'll see. I wouldn't be completely surprised if NS2 goes up in price. I'm still hoping that it doesn't. I can understand if it does, but there are still some possibilities. There are still some possible ways that Nintendo doesn't have to enter more expensive waters for the system. They can make up for it here or there. Well, a good point. The Super Mario Galaxy movie. Yeah, we thought a sequel was probably going to do. Gosh, the first one did, I think, $1,361,000,000. Yeah, we're expecting the sequel to at least be another billion. And we're looking at a 1.2. Maybe they're setting their expectations a little bit lower. Or maybe they're like, no, this thing has the makings to be like a 1.4, rivaling the likes of Frozen 2 and Zootopia 2. But instead of that 1.2, it does 1.5. 300 million more than anticipated. Yeah, it's got to be shared all across the board, but still. Oh no, it didn't do 1.4. This thing shattered expectations. It did 1.65, 250 million more than they thought. These are too many hypothetical scenarios, but you gotta weigh them all in. John Castle 5987 says, is Nintendo going to put Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow out this year for Nintendo Switch Online? Good question, John Castle. It is the 30th anniversary. It's quite a big deal. Nintendo just might do that. Fans have wanted it. Do they straight up port it? Do they port it with improvements? Do they remake it? Is it an NSO thing? Do you release it as a standalone cartridge? Do you make it a digital-only purchase? Do you keep it in a bundle? Release them a la carte? I would like to see it, though. It'd be really nice. It'd be nice to have them. If they raise prices, I hope it's at least $464. Just $464. Just gotta be a cool, weird number, $500 and one game voucher for any game would be cool, but that's probably not going to happen. Yeah. 500 and you throw in Welcome Tour. A $10 game. It's a $40 increase of the system, but every system now comes with Welcome Tour. So, Welcome Tour all of a sudden becomes one of the best-selling games of all time, right? If this would carry on all generation long. That's not a bad trade-off. That's not a bad trade-off. There doesn't exist a physical copy of Welcome Tour, but if Nintendo were to make the base Nintendo Switch 2 $500 in 2026 at some point, I would say, you know what? Throw in the $10 Welcome Tour as a downloadable code that comes slipped in the box in every Nintendo Switch 2 system. And yeah, it's $40 more than it was, but you're getting a little fun mini game experience on every system. And for every new Nintendo Switch 2 owner, they have that. That's. I know people will be like, dude, that's not worth it. But like, what are you going to do? When everything's going up, and if it's just inevitable, that would be a nice gesture of goodwill to be given. Something like that. Yeah, I like that idea. Jay Views says, hey, Paul, are we speculating that Nintendo's other forms of media will be able to offset the cost of Switch 2 to keep it at $450 price point throughout next year? If so, I agree 100%. Yeah, that's kind of the speculation here, Jay Views. If they just crushed it beyond expectation with the Mario movie, with the Mario movie merchandise, with the Old Spice sales, with the toy sales, with the licensed, cereal sales, with the amount of people that are going to be buying that Animal Crossing $10 upgrade pack, with how many people are still buying Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, with how many folks in this last quarter bought this game or in this next quarter end up buying Tamagotchi Life, or wow, Rhythm Heaven did way more than what we thought, and etc., etc., and the backpacks of Mario Galaxy Movie being sold at Hot Topic, and the amount of people going out there and buying new copies of the Super Mario Brothers movie because they're like, ooh, we wanna rekindle that love of the first movie, and they don't have it on a streaming device or something like that. And seeing the Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 packs go back up, in higher sales, and Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, selling more than they thought, etc., etc., etc. Like, that kind of stuff can offset it. A little bit of an increase in price in NSO subscriptions. Yeah, you got it. Not a guarantee, but possible. Charles Trudell says, what I know is Nintendo has ordered 25 million Switch 2s last year for end of March before RAM price hike. And they plan to sell 19 million before the end of March, meaning they do have a buffer of 6 before having to pay the higher RAM prices. Yeah, see, it's not just the tariffs, it is RAM prices. This greater usage of creating AI farms and RAM going this direction is going to make just RAM in general, not even like new stuff, cutting edge stuff, but just the current day stuff, more expensive for Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, Nvidia, Valve, Steam Machine, you name it, PC parts. You probably expect to go to Best Buy or Walmart or Target or Amazon and look up PCs and laptops going forward and be like, hold on, I'm paying that much more for something that's still from that year? How about new iPhones, new Androids, etc.? How much more? Everything's going to be a little bit more. But yeah, Nintendo does have some that they don't have to worry about yet. Paul, do you think Nintendo will make all cloud versions of games fully digital downloadable this year and forward? We'll make all cloud versions of games full digital. Like, of the third-party ones that exist? I mean, that will be up to third parties. For instance, Resident Evil 2 and 3 do exist, the remakes, on Nintendo Switch as cloud versions. But could they become full-on physical releases or digital download releases that you own, load up onto your system on an NS2? Maybe. That's going to be up to Capcom, though. What I see Capcom probably doing, though, is maybe after they have this 7, 8, 9 generation pack, they do a 2, 3, 4 bundle that's similarly priced. Maybe it'd have to be less. I don't know. Maybe I don't think it could be 90. I don't know if it would fly, because yeah, 7 and 8 are old, but the generation pack being 90 makes them each only $10 when you're getting Requiem for 70, and that's a good deal. 90 for 2, 3, and 4. 2, 3 are older, and by that time 4 is going to be older, so I don't think you could do 90 anymore. I think maybe you could do, like 70 for 2, 3, 4 pack. Yeah, that puts it at a value of like 20, 20, 30 for 2, 3, 4. That's about right, maybe. New Joy-Con colors could also be another way to help offset the price increase, and more Joy-Con colors. A new mega hit thing like Ring Fit Adventure 2. Yeah, some hot thing like that. Joy-Con 2, for sure. If they can hold off on hardware increases, it will benefit them in the long run. They already made adjustments last year to the tariffs, but consoles remain unaffected. Just updated my PC's graphics card due to a fire sale over the holidays. From the sounds of coming prices, I'm glad I did. I'm glad you did too. That's good. We are going to end the poll, by the way. It got close. 52% still picked 30 frames per second and stunning versus 60 frames per second and DK Bonanza-like levels of greatness. Okay. All right, folks. This was a really fun, mentally stimulating stream because since we didn't have anything super in the news that happened to talk about, we talked about a lot of Legend of Zelda, a little bit of Pokemon, and some other gaming goodness. We have 30 people watching. We have 33 likes in the chat. Oh, you know what? Before I go, today in gaming history, January 4th, 2019, Fitness Boxing launched for the Nintendo Switch in North America. Today in gaming history, January 4th, 2019. I will drop this in the chat. It is the latest video. If y'all don't mind giving it a watch, a like, a comment, I'd appreciate it. That would be cool. I know you can't hype it, but you could hype this if you want to. Okay. If you want to hype something, here is a video that you can hype. It is my little Super Mario Galaxy movie. I don't mention it in the video. I realized that afterwards. Can it reach $1.5 billion? If you feel like sharing some of your hypes this week with that video, that is my latest video. That's not a short. That I would appreciate it if you like it, comment on it, and hype it. I kind of made 2 Super Mario Galaxy videos. One was a short, one was a video. In the video, I meant to talk a little bit about can it hit that 1.5 billion mark, which no animated film has done. Zootopia just topped Frozen 2 to become the new #1, and it might hit 1.5. It's getting close, but we'll see. But yeah, Nintex2Dope says fun time as usual, or as always. Good. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Paladin, thank you for the fun stream. Paul, you're welcome. Thank you all for being here. Thank you. And now we've got 42 people watching. Oh, man. The amount of viewers just went up from like 32 to 42 as we're about to end the stream. Well, unless if somebody has anything else to ask. And now it's back to 32. People are like, I'm jumping in at the end. See you later. I'm not sticking around. This guy's about to end. I guess we'll end it here. And we should be back tomorrow for more. This Thursday, by the way, we should have a good conversation because Famitsu will give us our sales data, and that'll cover the last 2 weeks because we didn't have one last Thursday on the 1st. Dang Meme Center X says hi. Hi, Dang Meme Center X. Sorry that we're just about to end after being on for 99 minutes, but I appreciate that you're here, if even for a little bit. High and by. Yeah, that's right. Okay, everybody. Thank you again. This has been fun. AJ Rax 0440, thank you again for that generous $10 super chat. It is you and Steak 1024, both with the highest super chats done on a single stream in January in this new year, with Roger Enyart as that top spot for the membership donos. Yeah, Dank. I mean, you're welcome to rewind and watch, but I know it's different watching it later because even though the conversation is still fun, there's just something about watching a live stream later. You know what I mean? So I get it. But hopefully next time we'll have you in here for a longer duration than 2 minutes. But all right. Take care, everybody. Have a good rest